Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin Robbie Billups, and it is time for the weekly pop culture wrap-up. That's right, everybody. Time for the weekly pop culture wrap-up. It's the show where I go over the week's pop culture news, mostly comic books and a little bit of movies, and let's get right into it with some exciting comic book news from DC. They have announced their mature readers imprint, a new one called DC Black Label. The difference between this and Vertigo is that creators will be able to use actual DC characters like branded characters, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. These characters will be allowed in this mature reader's imprint. Think of it as Vertigo meets Elseworlds type thing, more mature type stories, more mature themes, I guess, hopefully something like that. So there are some interesting announcements coming out from this. The first one, of course, being Superman Year One by Frank Miller and John Romita Jr. We knew this one was coming, but now we know that it's here, and none of the dates for any of these books have been announced. But we now know this is here, and that it's official, and it's going to be a mature readers thing. Frank Miller on Superman, that's interesting to me. I will totally read Frank Miller's Superman Year One. Frank Miller did amazing work in the 80s on Batman, especially, right? Batman Year One, Dark Knight Returns, two of the absolute greatest Batman comics ever written. The way, though, that Miller has always written and understood Superman kind of scares me for him to do a Superman solo book, because I don't think he quite, at least to date, has written the amount of respect and reverence that a character like Superman really deserves. Miller's got a very interesting take on Superman in these books, but they are from Batman's perspective, so I do think that he will change the perspective more towards Superman. We shall see. John Romita Jr. is a perfect artist for this project. I'm up in the air on this one, guys. I'm really curious to see what Miller will do, but I'm also very scared to see what Miller will do. Does that make sense? Batman Damned by Brian Azzarello and Lee Bermejo. They recently, well, in the last 10, 15 years, they worked on a Luthor book together. They did that Joker book together. They did that Batman Deathblow book together that most people don't remember that was actually pretty good, to be honest with you. But it's a new Batman story. It's set in a world where the Joker is dead, and it's like a team up between Batman and John Constantine. It's supposed to be dark, haunting, horror driven a little bit of magic in there. Obviously, you got Constantine, so that's kind of exciting. Azzarello used to be one of my favorite writers. I still think he has amazing dialogue, but his stories kind of have all revolved around one little niche, which is not always the greatest thing to me. There's a new Wonder Woman book from Greg Rucka, going to be called Diana's Daughter. No artist is attached to this book, no cover, nothing like that. But anytime Greg Rucka is going to do anything Wonder Woman related, I'm down for this. Absolutely. Greg Rucka's Wonder Woman. My favorite runs of Wonder Woman are there are three that I really like, and actually Azzarello is one of them. Azzarello and Cliff Chang's Wonder Woman is amazing, but Greg Rucka did two separate runs on Wonder Woman, recently in Rebirth and then back in the early 2000s. Both of those runs really good. Love this guy's work on this character. Super excited for this. It's supposed to be about her daughter. It's at kind of like 20 years in an alternate future. That's going to be interesting. There's a new one from Kelly Sue DeConnick and Phil Jimenez. Phil Jimenez has created his own imprint on the Wonder Woman legacy. He drew the series and wrote the series for a long time. He's a great writer. A great artist, especially. Follows along the line of George Perez, so I'm excited to see him tackle the character. But it's going to be the Wonder Woman Historia, the Amazons. So like the history of the Amazons. Kelly Sue DeConnick's done some great stuff over with titles like Bitch Planet and Captain Marvel. So I am excited to see what she's going to do with the history of the Amazons, how it's going to work out. Phil Jimenez being the artwork, doing the artwork, being the artwork. I guess an artist is his artwork. But great textured, detailed, amazing layouts. Like I said, right in that George Perez vein. The Other History of the DC Universe by John Ridley. That has been announced before. We've talked about that on this show. I'm super excited for this. John Ridley wrote 12 Years a Slave. This is going to be about the history of the DC Universe through the eyes of some of the more marginalized characters, more marginalized communities in so you got Katana, you got Jon Stewart, your minorities, your LGBTQ community, things like that. It's going to be their perspective on the DC Universe and the socio-political changes that have happened within the DC Universe, and I'm still super excited for that series. Absolutely. For sure. From Marvel Fresh Start, we got two new ones we got to talk about. We already knew that one of them was coming. That was Tony Stark, Iron Man by Dan Slott, Valerio Schittai, and Edgar Delgado. So I'm cool with the team because Cheetah has been doing some really cool work over at Marvel 2-in-1, X-Men Blue, doing some good stuff over there. So I'm excited to see to get a book and get a big name on it, right? Like that. But Dan Slott to me has been doing a great job on Spider-Man. I'm excited to see him have a new challenge to tackle something different with Iron Man. If you notice, the book is called Tony Stark Iron Man. Will we have a Victor Von Doom Iron Man book? Will we have a Riri Williams Ironheart book? Something like that. But definitely the title is going to show us that this book is about Tony Stark. This is Tony's book, and anybody who's been reading Iron Man who hasn't been liking the last couple years, maybe one of the reasons why you didn't like it, because it wasn't really about Tony Stark. They're letting you know this book is about Tony Stark. I think Dan Slott is going to do a great job on that book. One other DC Black Label book that I just completely skipped over was, we knew this one was coming, but not quite in what form. It's Batman Last Night on Earth by Greg Capullo and Scott Snyder. Snyder and Capullo been doing amazing work on Batman since the New 52. They're wrapping up Metal as we speak. So, of course, who's not excited for Capullo and Snyder on Batman? Sorry about that. Back to Marvel, fresh start. One we didn't know was coming. The Sentry. The Sentry. So recently he has returned in the pages of Donny Cates' Doctor Strange. A great story arc, that Loki Sorcerer Supreme. That was so good. That trade's coming out. It's going to be called God of Magic or something. That was really cool. But the Sentry is back. They're giving him his own book. The artist will be Kim Jacinto, which is awesome, does great work. But the writer is Jeff Lemire, and I think Jeff Lemire is so prime for this book. This is his type of thing. If you like his nostalgic superhero books like Black Hammer, things like that, he really has a reference to the Silver Age in Black Hammer. That's going to come across in The Sentry. I'm really excited for that one. The Sentry is a very interesting character, and I love that Marvel has continued to work with him. After it was created by Paul Jenkins, they had that big April Fool's joke, Jay Lee. Their initial series was great. They bring him into the Marvel Universe. Bendis kind of did that in the Avengers books. And Sentry has been super interesting and at times like really faulted and all that stuff. But Jeff Lemire says he understands where the character comes from and the importance of the Void, but he doesn't want to keep telling the same story like what's kind of been happening to the Sentry. So I'm very excited for that news. Over at Dynamite Comics, there's a new Nancy Drew book coming out. It's going to be written by Kelly Thompson, one of my absolute favorite writers right now. She just recently wrapped up her run on Hawkeye, signed an exclusive at Marvel, so obviously this is something that was agreed to before that. But Nancy Drew, I've never really cared that much for Nancy Drew. I was more, I guess, of a choose-your-own-adventure type guy when I was a kid. But Nancy Drew by Kelly Thompson, I'm super pumped for that. If you like the Hawkeye book, I think you'll like this. Jen St. Ange is the artist. That's exciting. Fans of Kelly's Jim and the Holograms will be familiar with the artist St. Ange. And dude, I'm just so pumped for this. I've never been pumped for anything Nancy Drew in my life, but that's something to be excited for. Let's go over to some movies and TVs real quick. Movies and TVs, by the way, plural. TVs, plural. Anyway, Kristen Wig, it's been official now. Patty Jenkins has confirmed she is playing the Cheetah in Wonder Woman 2. An odd choice, some people may say. I think a bold choice, a great choice. First of all, it lets you know that they're going to treat Cheetah with a little bit of seriousness. That seems weird coming from an actor who's kind of known to be comedic in her performances, but they're not going just a sexy kind of route. They're not going just a TNA type route. I think by casting someone like Kristen Wig, they're immediately telling us that this character is going to be complex. There's going to be layers to it. Kristen Wig is an amazing actress. She's a beautiful actress as well, but she's not someone who's typically associated with these TNA type roles, and the Cheetah all the time in the comics veers into that direction. I don't think that's right for Wonder Woman. I don't think it's right for the Wonder Woman 2 movie. I'm super excited for this news. I'm very interested to see what Wig will do with that character, because if you know anything about Cheetah and Wonder Woman in the comic books, there is some depth there. There's some emotional richness there between Diana and Cheetah. There's some realness there. That's really exciting to me. There's a Sopranos sequel coming out. New Line just purchased a script co-written by Sopranos creator David Chase that is a prequel to The Sopranos. It takes place 30 years before, and it is going to be called, I didn't write the name down, but there is a name, 30 years before. New Line Cinema, David Chase. I didn't write the name down. I'm so crazy, and I do not remember right now. I'll throw it in the comments, or in the comments down below, just so you guys know. But I guess that's kind of cool. Back in the day, I was a huge Sopranos fan, like a lot of people were. I thought that series was very complex, had a lot of interesting characters. I really, for a time there, loved gangster fiction, gangster crime fiction, and Sopranos was just perfect at that time. I think maybe it's a little too late now to go back and revisit that world, even in a 30 years prequel, but, you know, whatever. Maybe it's going to be good. Star Wars, a Star Wars TV series on the new Disney streaming service that they're going to launch soon. A new Star Wars live-action TV series written and produced by Jon Favreau. Super excited for this. I'm a huge Jon Favreau fan. Swingers, Made, carry that on into the MCU with Iron Man and even Iron Man 2. I think he's great. I love his performances. I love his writing. I like his directing style. To be honest with you, I think Jon Favreau is a talent that doesn't always shine through sometimes, and I'm super pumped for this. I bet he is. The Star Wars live-action series has been something that has been toyed with for years and years and years, and it's something that maybe we should have. However, don't be excited for this if you don't like anything that goes beyond the Skywalker legacy, because I think Star Wars is such a huge world, a huge universe, actually, that I think it's something that could really, really work, and I think Jon Favreau, I think he can do it. I'm super pumped for that. So upcoming here on PCP, that was all the news we got for this week. Lots of excitement, actually. That DC Black Label, all that stuff, the new fresh starts, the Nancy Drew, Kristen Wig, all that information. Let me know in the comments below any thoughts that you have. I love talking to you guys about pop culture in the comments down below. That's what this is all about. Sharing with you, you sharing with me. I love it. Thank you guys so much for checking out the video and your support. But upcoming at PCP, we got a new Movie Monday tomorrow. On Monday, it's Movie Monday, Age of Ultron. We'll be talking about Age of Ultron, continuing our journey through the MCU, our trek through the Marvel Cinematic Universe, leading up to Infinity War. I'm so excited. This rewatch has been one of the funnest things I've ever done as far as movie rewatches, and I love rewatching movies, and I love putting together like sagas or themes or things like that and just watching through them and talking about them with my friends and with you guys. And this MCU rewatch has been so stupendously awesome. Age of Ultron is tomorrow, and I'm excited to hear you for you guys to check out that video. Me and Brooks have some contention about that. If you were at our panel or watched our panel from the expo a few weeks ago, you picked up there's a little contention there, and that's why. Podcast wise, there's Buddy Cop Movies are out. That podcast is out right now at popculturephilosophers.com, iTunes, Android services, Podbean, any of that type stuff. We are on there. The new podcast is out, Buddy Cop Movies. Last night we just had the cats from Killing Time into the studio and we recorded our 80s comedies podcast, so that's the next one coming out. That show was really fun. And that After Hours and PCP After Hours, we keep the mics live for like 15 to 20 minutes after each podcast, and we just talk about anything. And it's last night's After Hours was one of the absolute best. I had such a joy, me and John, hanging out with Richard and Alex from Killing Time. Those cats are so great. They really understand and get pop culture, and I have so much fun with those guys. So PCP After Hours is available only on the Patreon page, $1 a month. You can unlock that, and there's a whole lot more. The newsletter, all that jazz. But I'm not going to try to sell you, but I'm just going to let you know that when that comes up, you really should listen to that one, because that one is really, really cool. Also, I interviewed L.W. Allen from Dance Panda Comics. I do work with him and with his comic book company. He's a local artist here in North Alabama, where I am stationed currently. Not stationed as in military, just stationed as in life. But did an interview with Lance. Lance is a great guy. He's got some great work coming out. Check him out at dancepandacomics.com, on Twitter, at dancepandacomics. He's on Twitter. All that stuff. Great stuff. That interview will be out this week, so be on the lookout for all that stuff. Thank you guys so much for checking out the video, and like I said, let me know any comments you have about what I talked about today in the comments down below. I love talking to you guys about pop culture. Thanks for rocking with us. Please do like, share, and subscribe. Check us out at popculturephilosophers.com for those podcasts, for some blogs, and a whole lot more. I've been Rockin Robbie Billups. Thanks for rocking with us. Keep on keeping on and dreaming, you dig?